Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mini Scroll, the daily internet culture podcast bringing you the biggest stories from social media, the creator economy, and the digital space every Monday through Thursday. I'm your host, Lauren Meisner, the founder of the youth digital media brand Centennial World. All right, you guys might be able to tell from my voice, but I think I'm actually getting a little bit sick. Of course, I feel like finally everything calmed down for the business. This week has felt so much more like normal and manageable for me. And now I feel like I am getting sick. But it is winter here in Australia, and that's just kind of how it goes. So, anyways, I love how lately I'm getting like DMs and comments of people asking me to cover different things. I feel like you guys are helping me do my job. It's amazing. So, one of the stories from today, the first story that I'm going to share was requested by one of you guys. It is a wild story. And then I have two others. So, we have a full 3 stories, full roster for you guys again today. Okay, let's just get right into it. So, the first story that I have for you guys is RawBeautyKristi is being accused of building an anti-LGBTQIA homeschool on her homestead. So, as I mentioned, this was requested by a viewer. When I saw this comment on YouTube a couple days ago, I was like, excuse me? And then I looked into it and I was like, oh my God, like this is not a joke. Like, I was like, is this a troll? What is happening? Okay. So for anyone that doesn't know, RawBeautyKristi, she's an OG beauty YouTuber. She got really popular years ago because she was a self-taught makeup artist and she is just kind of like a regular person. I don't know how to describe it, but like she came up in the era of Jaclyn Hill, Laura Lee, like these larger than life influencers, and she was just so mellow and chill. She didn't change when she got lots of followers. She seemed super down to earth. And yeah, it was just like kind of a pleasure to follow someone who felt really like normal and relatable. Another thing to note about her is, I mean, I have watched her for years and years, and she did seem very progressive at the beginning of her career. She seemed like very rooted in reality, very down to earth. So in late 2019, Kristi and her husband moved to a property in the woods. And this is when she got into some crunchy hobbies like homesteading. So I think you guys probably know where this is going because we have spoken a lot about the crunchy to alt-right pipeline on this podcast. But for those who are unfamiliar with the term crunchy, it refers to a subculture defined by the pursuit of slow living, wellness, independence, and traditional aesthetics. The cultural practices of crunchy living can range from avoiding food dyes and additives to refusing to vaccinate your children. The crunchy to alt-right pipeline has been documented in recent years as the rise of TikTok has brought about this new wave of crunchy influencers infiltrating the online zeitgeist. One of the most popular and renowned articles on this is by Kathleen Belew for The Atlantic. She writes, quote, "The crunchy to alt-right pipeline conversation gives us a chance to see something crucial that is often lost in depictions of right-wing formations. The white power movement is not just men marching in the street. It's also women sharing cultural materials through social networks. Women and the cultural materials upon which they exert their most intense influence are where we can see this as a social movement." So Belew argues that the crunchy subculture is a form of direct recruitment for the white power movement. Once someone goes crunchy, they are more vulnerable to fear-mongering and conspiracies given their existing distrust in government, medicine, and other institutions. So something that may have influenced Kristi to enter this pipeline is that she has been very open about her complicated health problems, her complex mental health problems, and that she has health anxiety. And I think if you spend years going to doctors who can't, give you a proper diagnosis or can't like properly help you and treat you, I can see how, it like makes sense that you would get more skeptical of medicine, I suppose. So I feel like that is possibly, just speculating, where that could have started from. So anyways, people on Reddit have noted over the years how Kristi has felt like she is essentially like more and more on this pipeline, like entering this pipeline. So there's definitely been a few red flags, but over the weekend, speculation that Kristi was on the alt-right pipeline was seemingly confirmed. And when I say confirmed, I mean she didn't confirm it. I want to make that clear. This is like alleged. So a Reddit poster with the username Mafia Girls Fashion compiled a whole post of evidence, and a lot of it did come from stuff this weekend. So Kristi did a Q&A where she said she will be homeschooling her son with a homeschool co-op. Kristi's sister, who has featured on her channel in the past, started a homeschool group with a friend. This is presumably the homeschool co-op that Kristi will send her child to. Okay, so this is from the Homeschool Co-op's About Us page, and I don't want to say the name of the co-op, just, privacy stuff. We see this homeschool co-op as a lighthouse for this fallen world, a place of rescue from the darkness and perverseness of the broken public school system. The mission is to provide a safe place for children to learn and grow in their relationship with God, building up a community of homeschoolers who are taking back their identities in Christ Jesus. We pray to be a seed planting cooperation for the kingdom of heaven. We are also here to inform and equip other churches and/or communities how to plant a school in your own area. The Lord told us we would be a blueprint for more schools to come. We have faith and are walking boldly with the word of our Father in our hearts. Okay, so if you guys want to know more about the crunchy to all right pipeline and how religion plays a role in this, specifically Christianity, go listen to our Gwen Gwiz episode because we dove into the topic in much more depth in that episode. But obviously, as you can tell, this homeschool co-op is heavily influenced by religion. So it makes sense that, Kristi would send her son to this one because it's her sister's. But also the homeschool posted on Facebook that they are moving locations, and they posted photos of Kristi's property as the place that they're moving to. Kristi had also announced at some point that she was building her sister a house on her property. So now people are convinced that Kristi is essentially hosting this homeschool co-op on her property. And all of that would be okay. That would be fine. However, this homeschool co-op supports anti-LGBTQIA views, allegedly. So this is directly from the Reddit post. I don't want to paraphrase this. So they wrote, on the 4th of July, a video was posted to the homeschool social media pages showing them participating in a parade. It featured them holding signs associated with anti-LGBT sentiment. The slogan, "Don't mess with our kids," is actually the name of an anti-LGBT hate organization, and it is clear that they are associated with this hate group because the sign is promoting their hashtag. Kristi's son was in the video, face showing. I will not be posting him, but I find it interesting she's against showing his face on social media unless it's being used to promote hate. So Kristi was not in this video, but she did like the video on Facebook. So now her followers are commenting on her videos and social media and her DMs, and they are claiming to be blocked. I wanted to talk about why it seems like so many influencers fall down this pipeline. Kristi is so far from the first influencer to fall down this pipeline, and it seems like it just is happening more and more. So I think influencing, especially YouTube, is a job that a lot of people go into when they have mental health struggles like anxiety and social anxiety, because this is a job where you basically socially isolate, you are talking to a camera, you're interacting with people, but it's all through a computer. So I think the mixture of high anxiety or just not great mental health in general, mixed with spending so much time online, which is obviously also part of that job, I think that's kind of a recipe for disaster. And this disaster is compounded when you consider that many influencers get into this job very young. So they haven't had a lot of real world experience. They might not have formal higher education. And they also have a lot of money. So that can create a superiority complex, a lot of money from a young age where you feel like you're almost above science. I feel like that all combined makes them the perfect target for this pipeline. I think non-influencers, you have managers, superiors, corporate bosses, or whatever it is, and that's going to reinforce another level of thinking to you. You're interacting with people from all different walks of life every day. So I think all of that combined makes you very susceptible to the pipeline. When it comes to Kristi, it appears like she has. I don't want to say she absolutely has and it's absolutely confirmed, but it seems as though it's possible that she has. And I'm sure that having the influence of her sister there as well has, of course, contributed to that. It is such a wild story. It's very upsetting. Like I loved her content. I have watched her content for so long. She felt so relatable, rooted in reality, just down to earth. She just, it's such a shame. And this just keeps happening. But anyways, let's get on to the next story. So the next story that I have is that Chris Olsen has called out fellow TikToker HaleyyBaylee for mocking abuse victims in her new skit. Okay, so this actually started like last year with like Risa Tisa. So we all know that Brooke Schofield, she did that like 14 or 15 part series where she exposed Clinton Kane and his alleged lies. So Brooke made this series in response to Clinton calling her out, right? But she called it her own version of Who the Fuck Did I Marry?, which was Risa Tisa's series. She did 50 parts. Each was like 10 minutes long, and she talked about how she was married to a pathological liar and how she essentially got out of that marriage and survived. So Brooke's series obviously was really well received, and then that inspired Chris Olsen, also a TikToker, to make his own series about his ex-boyfriend and how his ex-boyfriend was super abusive and tried to kill him. And then I guess thinking maybe that this was a trend and not like people's real life stories, HaleyyBaylee made her own version of this series talking about her fake billionaire boyfriend. And HaleyyBaylee is the one who had the Met Gala scandal, the Let Them Eat Cake scandal just a few months ago. So people are watching her with a very critical eye right now because of that anyways. So a lot of people took it seriously. They didn't take necessarily the story seriously. They just took it seriously as in like she was actually trying to pass this off as like a real story. But it was definitely like a bit, like it was definitely a skit that she was trying to do because I think it's pretty well known, quote unquote, her like billionaire boyfriend is fake, I think it's like a bit. So she, made her own like version of this to like jump on, the trend and like, I think trying to be funny. And obviously people were like, what the fuck? Like you can't be out here making like funny skits, quote unquote, funny skits, mocking abuse victims, like playing an abuse victim. So this didn't go over very well. She deleted the video, and then Chris Olsen on his alt account made a response.
Listen, I'm not above satire. I'm not above making up a little story on the internet for fun. Like me saying Meghan Trainor and I were childhood friends when we're not, getting the audience and all of us having a little laugh together. Where satire and making up stories is not appropriate is stories about abuse. This isn't a trend to jump on because you see it's getting other people views. I wouldn't even say this is a trend to jump on at all. I was inspired by the women before me who were bravely sharing their stories and knew that it helped me feel less alone. So I figured if I share my story, I would feel less alone. But regardless of the views and whatever I'm getting from it, I'm still living with the trauma of that story. I'm still living with the fact that I'm now kind of scared that he's going to reach out to me. I'm still living with the fact that in so many of my relationships, I operate under the guise of always thinking I'm in the wrong or always thinking this person is going to flip a switch and turn on me out of nowhere because that's what this guy did when I was 15 or 16. I'm still living in fear, and views aren't going to take that away. And so I just think if you're getting on this trend and making something up, it is a bit disrespectful to the people who have actually been through something.
Chris's response was also reposted by Teffy. So I think the interesting thing here, obviously HaleyyBaylee is very like not socially aware. I don't think that's surprising. And I think a lot of influencers who are really rich, famous, gorgeous, surrounded by yes men, like I think most of them are probably not that socially aware. I don't think that's like unique to her, but I think it's interesting to see her peers like Teffy and Chris call her out, especially because no one really spoke up about the Met Gala stuff as far as I know. So it's interesting to see them kind of taking a stand now. Okay, and the last story that I have for you guys, I'm sorry, I need to wrap this up because I'm really like struggling to talk because I'm not feeling well. I wanted to share the 1 million beers trend. Okay, so Sean keeps telling me to talk about this. He's like, it's been on his For You page forever. He keeps sending me these videos being like, you need to talk about this on Mini Scroll. So I'm like, okay, I'll talk about it. It's funny. So 1 million beers is a new TikTok trend that seems to mock toxic masculinity. It's like mocking alpha male gym bros, but that's not actually like how it started. So it was started by a creator named Zach Enyon in June when he posted a video wearing Snapchat's handsome lens filter, walking around a party with the caption, Open bar, you say? Yeah, I'll have 1 million beers. This obviously didn't start as social commentary on toxic masculinity, like I said, but it's kind of turned into that. So the use of the handsome filter, which is kind of like the equivalent of TikTok's bold glam filter for guys, it makes these men look like the ideal Chad. And if you listened to our looks waxing episode, then you'll know that Chad is an incel term that describes the ideal man, like a man who's really hot and jacked and successful and gets all the girls. So the combination of this filter with saying you want 1 million beers, men are using this trend as basically like a way to mock masculine one-up culture. It's like, oh, last night I drank like, can you believe I drank like 10 beers? And then someone's like, oh, really? Like I drank 12. And then it's like, I drank 1 million, like that kind of vibe. So a lot of the videos are now being hashtagged with Sigma and alpha male. They're not all commentary though. There are a lot of these videos that are just men participating without kind of like the bigger message. But the gist is men are making skits on TikTok, wearing this Snapchat handsome filter, asking for 1 million beers. And these videos are always set to the sound Sladco by Sarah Bro. So I feel like this is funny because maybe like if you have, for example, like a skincare brand, if you're like in marketing at a skincare brand, like I feel like there's opportunity here for brands. So let's say you have a skincare brand. I feel like you could so easily do this. You could have that filter on or the bold glam filter. It would just be so easy to make a quick little video wearing that filter, being like, I'll have 1 million face creams or whatever. I feel like there's lots of opportunity here. Anyways, guys, that's it for Mini Scroll today. Thank you so much for listening. I love you guys. Please rate, review, and subscribe. It helps me so much. I will talk to you on Monday, but there will be a deep dive, as always, tomorrow. Okay, bye.